Originally a clan of travellers and wanderers, the Fremennik are described as a group of Norsemen who live in the Fremennik province in mainland Gielinor. It's often said that all humans across Gielinor originated from the Fremenniks, and though we may have common ancestors, it doesn't mean that they trust anyone easily. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Well guys, it's finally happened. I've gotten my very first sponsorship, and you'll never guess who it is. It's Raid Shadow Legends, one of the fastest growing mobile games in the world. The game is available for Android, iOS and PC, letting you play wherever you want. The game is enjoyed by many worldwide, so if you want to see what Raid is about, then you can download and try for free using my link or just scan the QR code to receive an amazing hero. Raid has over 800 heroes, PvE, PvP, CVC, so many artifacts and clan bosses, there's always something to do. It's really a world you can immerse yourself in and gives you a sense of challenge with great rewards. There's even a huge amount of content coming in 2024, with one of the latest content drops being in the Cursed City in late 2023. Raid does take time to play, but what game doesn't nowadays? Even if you're busy, you can boot up the auto battle mode, which saves you tons of time and you still get fantastic rewards to enhance your gameplay. It's also cross-platform, so if you feel like putting your phone down, you can throw it up on your PC while working or relaxing. Everyone knows time is money, and yes, it is true that if you spend some money in the game, it can help you progress faster. But Raid Shadow Legends is free to play, and a large portion of the endgame players are free to play. With all this exciting stuff and more coming to Raid, if you haven't started playing yet, then check the link out in my description or scan the QR code to receive epic heroes, amazing goodies, and then when you reach level 25, you'll get Gielinor for free. Once you're in and crushing enemies, come find me under the name Gravity Bind, join my clan, and we'll crush our enemies together.
As we all know, especially if you watched one of my last videos, Gothics arrived to Gielinor first before bringing many other races to the planet, and the humans he brought had left their own realm behind to help populate Gielinor during the first stage. The Fremennik even have their own language, which can be discovered when examining the safety guarantee used in the quest Mountain Daughter. This document examines as the strange character supposedly grants Svidi, who's a representative of the mountain tribe, safe passage into Relica. Nomadic to begin with, they lived very simple lives, hunting, fishing and travelling to ensure the balance of the land's rich resources wouldn't be depleted. But this would eventually end as they abandoned their nomadic way of life to create the village of Relica in the 4th Age. Life did mostly improve for a lot of the nomadic folk. They had a constant roof over their heads and could sprout roots for themselves and their future generations. But not everyone agreed. One such group is called the Mountain Tribe, filled with Fremenniks who are discontent of this change. You might think, surely that meant some type of civil war. But no, the group simply packed their belongings and left. But not without angering the Fremennik, of course, which left only bitter hatred towards each other. At some point, the Fremennik also discovered a rock that was revealed to be rune essence, the thing that shatters your heart when you kill Duke Sukelis and see him drop a few thousand of. This discovery caused another great struggle within the tribe, with some believing that Fremenniks should utilise the magics of this essence to defend themselves from the races that were consistently attempting to dismantle and take their lands, and others believing that the rock should not be used by mortals, that the gods would descend again and destroy them for trying to utilise something that should not be in human hands. This tension once again grew, until a large group of Fremenniks departed for the Lunar Isle, where they would form the Moon Clan. And it was during this weakness and chaos that the Mountain Tribe descended from the mountains to attack the village of Relica, and steal the sacred rune essence rock, which was a grave crime. These two tribes would then go on to not speak to each other until, well, we got involved. With the Fremenniks being quite a power force, especially in the North mainland Gielinor, they of course have their own questline. Currently at the time of making this video, we have 10 total quests that involve the Fremenniks. We'll be discussing on the 4 main quests that are about the Fremenniks that we bond with and share the long haul with. These are the Fremennik Trials, Fremennik Isles, Lunar Diplomacy, and Fremennik Exiles. The other quests are Horror from the Deep, Throne of Miscellanea, Royal Trouble, Dream Mentor, Mountain Daughter, and Olaf's quest. Let's start with the first one, the Fremennik Trials. This sees us becoming an honorary member of the Fremennik people, and of course, as I've mentioned about how unfriendly they are, we need to pass a series of trials to be accepted by them. Speaking to Chief Brunt, he simply explains that all we have to do is impress 7 of the 12 Council of Elders to be voted in as a member, and we can do this by accomplishing specific tasks for each one. We challenge Manny the Traveller to a drinking competition, and though we lose, mainly because he has that Fremennik fortitude, we of course find the workaround, some low alcohol beer. We distract Manny and switch out our keg for the low alcohol one, which we drink like water. He gives us his vote after he notices we drink an entire keg in the next competition. Olaf the Bard tasks us with performing in the long haul and impressing him, but first we need a lyre, so we can either make one ourselves by getting wood from the swaying tree, or we can go on a murdering spree in Relica until one drops. I mean, 1 in 17 drop chance isn't that bad, right? Either way, we obtain the lyre and put on the performance of a lifetime. Sigly the Huntsman gets us to find a Draugen, an immortal spirit, and defeat it to weaken it, and then absorb its essence into the Hunter's Talisman. Light work. Sigmund asks us to get him an exotic flower, which sounds easy enough, but if you've done one small favour, this is like a miniature version of that. We have to run around Relica doing favours and finding out information for different people before we can complete this task. Swanson the Navigator just has us navigate our way through his maze of portals. Thorvald the Warrior has us fight Koshi the Deathless, which means we need to fight him 3 times, bare minimum, with no weapons, armour or runes. Pia the Seer tasks us with just entering his house, which isn't as easy as it sounds, but we solve numerous puzzles and eventually make our way through the house. And at the end of everything, we speak to Chief Brunt to officially become a member of the Fremennik people. Our next adventure sees us getting our sea legs on and moving north to visit the islands of Jatizo and Natsanot, who are not only under the threat of invading ice trolls but also seem to be quite bitter to one another. This all began when 2 brothers sailed north to establish the 2 towns, and they hated each other, which was passed down to everyone who inhabits both islands now. Maybe with enough work, we can get them to look past their differences and unite. We first speak to moored gunners on the dock of Relica, and we are taken to Jatizo, where we then speak to King Gujuki Sorvot IV. Well, try to. We first need to get his cat some raw tuna. Once we accomplish this incredibly difficult task, we speak to the king and give him numerous ores that he requests, of which we're rewarded with some coins, and we grab some jester clothing while we're here. Next, we head back to Relica, and speak to Maud's wife Maria to travel to Natsanot, meeting with a contact named Slug Hemlingson. We're tasked with acquiring some information, so we do what we know best. We equip the jester costume, and speak to Bergher Mornis Beauregard and entertain him, while keeping our eyes on the guards exchange words. Who says we can't multitask? We learn that they're planning an assault on the cave in 2 days with 17 recruits, but that 2 bridges need to be fixed before this can be accomplished. We need to help repair the bridges, and go back to King Mornis, and he tells us to survey the troll caves but also ensure that Jatizo don't take the raid on the trolls in the wrong way. So we head back to Jatizo and find out that apparently King Gujuki has imposed a new window tax, a little bit like the bedroom tax in the UK I guess. But that's not all. He also invented a facial hair tax. We can take the role of tax collector and collect around 29,000 coins. We hand this back to the king and make our way to Natsanot. Though King Gujuki won't listen to advice, he gives us a decree that we deliver to King Mornis, which leads us to go through the Natsanot warrior rites before being tasked with killing the Ice Troll King and bringing back his head. Once we return, we get the helm of Natsanot from King Mornis. Lunar diplomacy sees us take on the challenge of trying to mend the broken ties between the Moon Clan and the Fremenniks, because we're oh so nice. We begin this quest by talking to Lokar Searunner in Relica, and making sure to take a trusty bullseye lantern with us. Trying to make our way to the Moon Clan is a little bit complicated. We first speak to Chieftain Brunt and obtain a seal of passage, allowing us to walk around and access Lunar Isle, which if we lose this seal, we get teleported back to Relica. We sail to the Pirate's Cove and board the Lady Zay, and this is where our problems begin. Every time we try to sail to the island, we find ourselves back at Pirate's Cove. Just look at this whole list of instructions that we have to do. Basically, the ship is jinxed, so we need to explore around the ship and speak to the crew to figure out where the jinxes are and wipe them away. Successfully doing this lets us sail to the Moon Clan Island. Making our way to the island, we speak to Meteora and she tells us to speak to the Oniromancer? One-Eye-Romancer? I don't know, but we speak to her and she tells us to obtain 3 items: a waking sleep potion, a lunar staff, and ceremonial cloves. To get the potion, we need to speak to Baba Yaga in the chicken house, obtain a guam leaf, marantil, and a crushed sukwat tooth. To get the lunar staff, we need to take our Draman staff to all 4 elemental altars in this order: air, fire, water, and earth. And the lunar staff is made. Not that hard. Ceremonial clothing is made with sukwa hides and some lunar ore, though for some of the bits we do need to solve some puzzles to obtain. Once we gather everything, we go back to the Oniromancer, and we are told about the next step and given some soaked kindling. We head to the brazier in the village and light the soak kindling to enter the dream world. Just imagine you dropped a tab of LSD mixed with some magic mushrooms of some type. That's the kind of trip that you're having in the game. But what's worse, you need to solve puzzles while you're tripping. Once you solve all the puzzles, you need to fight a big, terrible enemy. A terrifying creature that strikes horror in the heart of all those who see it. You fight yourself. Or me, as it's called. Once you fight and defeat me, or you are took out of the trippy sequence, and you come back to the Moon Clan Isle slightly frazzled. With your courageous axe, the tensions are slightly eased between the two clans. The Fremennik Exiles focuses on us helping Chieftain Brunt once again and ends with us saving the Fremennik province from an ancient threat. Speaking to Chief Brunt, we ask for a quest, as you do, and we're told to investigate a minor disturbance that happened around a sandpit. If we go there, a basilisk youngling appears and immediately attacks us. But what's interesting is that this basilisk will consistently do 6 damage to us and drain our stats if we don't have a mirror shield equipped. But once we defeat this baby basilisk, an unsealed letter is dropped that explains how there's a basilisk invasion being prepared, and how an ancient enemy named Jormungand has re-emerged. We find out the history of Jormungand from Chieftain Brunt, and how Jormungand and his 3 generals, Typhor, Vritra and Bakuna, brought terror to the lands before him and his army was stopped after the Fremennik hero, V, confronted and magically sealed the Serpent King on the Isle of Stone. Though we reassure Brunt that we'll deal with whatever is coming, Agnar arrives and begins to blame us about all the misfortunes the town has befallen ever since we showed up. Kinda rude, but okay. We even get exiled from the town, but as we leave, we find Brunt nearby and he apologises, and suggests that we restore V's shield to regain the faith of the council. We obtain a Fremennik shield from Dagonoff's within Waterbeath Island, make some lunar glass and V's sigil by following instructions from Baba Yaga, create a polishing rock by submerging a rock in the hot springs in the mountains east of Relica, and return to Brunt, wielding V's shield. We return to the Long Hall and find out that the council has declared us as part of the Fremennik people once more, so we can rejoice, except we can't, because basilisks now are invading the town. So we get to work and start slaying. When we defeat enough, we depart Relica to go to the Island of Stone, where we find out that Jormungand's prison has been breached, so we head straight inside. Once we make our way through the caves, we find the old basilisk generals attempting to awaken the Serpent King. Though Brunt does take on Vritra and we fight Typhor, Bakuna is successful in awakening his king, and his reward, Jormungand consumes him to regain some strength, but that's not enough to stop us from defeating him. Just make sure you have V's shield equipped, unless you like being hit for 18s constantly. With this battle done, we save Relica, and everyone in Relica will now refer to us by our Fremennik name, followed by the honorific Drapia, I think. Thank you guys for watching, and I really appreciate it if you took the time to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. With the release of Valamor coming on the 20th, we're going to have a lot of lore to look through before I can make some dedicated videos. But trust me, they will be coming. If you have any suggestions of anything you want me to cover in Valamor or just in general, throw them down below. And if you haven't already, just make sure you check out the link in the description or the QR code to check out Raid Shadow Legends. And with that, as always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.